Welcome to the Road to the Ryder Cup, hosted by Dr. Jeff Poblarski and my dad, PGA golf professional Frank Darby. Let's go USA.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Road to the Ryder Cup. My name is Frank Darby. I'm a PGA member in the Metropolitan section for the last 42 years. So we've had some really great guests on this show. We've got another great one this morning. I'm not going to give you the name right this second, but I'm going to pass it back to my co-host, Jeff Poplarski, who's going to give us a few stats and things that are happening at Bethpage side of the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, as of the filming of this podcast, Frank and our guests, it's 4 days to the Ryder Cup, as we've been saying for the last year. One of the most anticipated sporting events in this country, which is pretty impressive, that topic there. By the way, this Tuesday is the first ticketed event for the Ryder Cup. Practice round Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday too. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is actually the rounds. So the event is sold out. You can go on a secondary market called SeatGeek to buy tickets if you want to. I was up at Bethpage Friday. I was there yesterday to Saturday. The merchandise tent opened up to the general public. 70,000 square feet, the largest merchandise tent in the history of golf. And it was actually pretty packed with a lot of people. One lady in front of me bought $3,700 worth of apparel and golf balls and markers. It was pretty amazing. Our sponsor, the Tunnel to Towers, their event is on Sunday, September 28th. So there's 7 days to the Tunnel to Towers and 355 days to the 25th anniversary of 9/11. Tunnel to Towers has all these unbelievable ceremonies planned for the 25th anniversary to honor all the victims of 9/11 during the attacks and also after the attacks. But last thing, Frank, I like little one-of-a-kind pieces. I was in that merchandise tent. 1 ounce gold piece. Keegan Bradley signed it. Only 100 pieces sold for a nice $8,600. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But that might be a good birthday gift for you, Frank.
Jeff, before you pass it over to me, let me ask you: can you tell us about what Frank Siller and them did for some of the Tunnel of Towers or the Towers medal? What they presented to the Ryder Cup?
Yeah, what happened was last week or 2 weeks ago during 9/11, we happened to give the PGA of America a piece of steel from the World Trade Center and also a 343 fire hat. That's how many firemen were lost on 9/11. We gave it to Brian Carnes, and respectfully, he took it. They put it on the first tee box on 9/11, and it was on all their social media platforms.
Yeah, really cool. Hey, listen, Frank Siller is the man and, takes care of a lot of different people. But, hey, listen, we got a great guest on today. PGA member like myself. I've known him forever. He is now the media platform Read the Line. He does a lot of handicapping for all the professional events, for the upcoming Ryder Cup as well. He's been a golf professional at a number of clubs. We've got Keith Stewart with us today. So, Keith, thanks for being with us.
Frank, Jeff, it's a pleasure to be with you guys. I can't wait to get into the Ryder Cup. I can't wait for the Ryder Cup to start. So let's have some fun.
Yeah, it does seem like it seems like it's almost longer than when we wait for a Super Bowl to start. Seems like it's been going on for about a month. We can't wait to go. With 4 days to go, everybody's chopping at the bit as well. But Keith, let's just talk a little bit about being a PGA member and your different clubs you've worked at. Listen, you've won so many awards. And definitely deserving of it in the New Jersey section. But tell us a little bit about your history.
Well, Frank, as you and I know, what have we met? We met 2 decades ago. It seems like it was a long time ago. I'm a longtime PGA professional, was a green grass operator for over 20 years, was fortunate enough to be recognized by my peers a couple of times. But, around just prior to COVID, I started to dabble in a little bit of media because I felt like, something around the narrative of the game we needed to update, get ready for the 20s and beyond. And I just felt like there was a lot of things that, could make the game more popular. Well, all of a sudden, we have the pandemic and the game explodes. And at the same time, things like gambling on golf and sports become legal, and everyone is just taking up the game. So, as a PGA professional, I put my mind to it and I said, you know what? I'm going to create a media platform that covers golf from a betting perspective. So I cover the men, the LPGA, and the women, the PGA Tour, week after week, all year long. I produce a newsletter. I produce all sorts of content. I'm the lead betting writer for Golf Digest, um, all sorts of spots. And what that has done is then has now gotten people more engaged in, doing something that they probably already do when it comes to golf, which is wager on it.
Yeah, listen, I love what you always. I loved your radio show. You came on mine a number of times. We came on yours all the time. But I loved your title that you had down at Springdale Golf Club, the director of fun. I thought that was so cool. Really. And you know what? It is definitely appropriate for just how you treated all your members. And we used to take my St. John's team down to that Princeton event at Springdale, and I tell you what. For not a super long golf course, that place drove my guys nuts. It drove everybody nuts because you had to be, really into course management and just be very careful around that golf course. But what a place and what a great job you did down there. So I'm sure Jeff's chomping at the bit here. Oh, one other thing. You got to follow Keith because the last 2 years he's had 42 winners. How come I'm not following you in bet?
Frank, you know what? I mean, it's out there, man. That's on you. That's on you.
Big time.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, Keith. But Keith, I also teach sports management at a local university on Long Island, and one of the first chapters I teach sports management students is that the sports industry is around $1 trillion. By the way, Saudi sports, the Saudi Arabia government wants to put $7 trillion into sports by the year 2030. They're calling it Saudi Sport 2030. So my question to you is, I said 1 trillion in sports management. That was excluding gambling. What do the numbers look like in golf? Like how much money is being gambled on PGA Tour and LPGA Tour events?
Well, this is a great question. Let's start with a little bit of perspective, right? In 2024, give or take, you're looking at about 120 billion was wagered on sports online. So that's all your FanDuels and DraftKings and everyone added up across football, NBA, MLB, everything that Russian ping pong. I know Frank's big into that. So, anything that you could wager on, that's what it adds up to be. Golf is about 10% of that. It's somewhere between 9 and 10%. So about 12 billion in 2024 was wagered on golf, on people's phones and in, sports wagering facilities and so on and so forth. That doesn't count what people were playing for at Springdale or at Frank's club or your club or at Bethpage on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's really wow. So, some very interesting numbers right there. So let's get into the Ryder Cup right now. So I'm sure you can. I know that you've. Well, first of all, who's the favorite? Is it the United States slightly favored right now?
Would say the United States is the favorite, and I would say it's more than a slight favorite. Coming out of the odds have kind of been the same all year. They jumped a little bit right after the two teams were kind of confirmed who they were. But then after the Procore and the BMW week, which was 2 weeks ago, that Monday, they jumped again and made the United States even more of a favorite. So right now, the United States is pretty much, a pretty strong favorite. If you're looking for the money line or that betting number, it's about minus 140. If you want to wager on the United States, it's about plus 170 if you want to wager on Europe. Now, if you're not familiar with what the money line is or what wagering lines look like and what they mean, if somebody is a minus, and this kind of sounds weird, but if they're a minus, they're the favorite. And what that means is that, you'd have to bet $140 in order to win 100 on the US, and then vice versa. If you bet $100 on Europe, you would win 170.
Keith, is there any information out there? Obviously, Bethpage has had 3 majors, 2 PGA Tour events. Is there any information out there on all these players, these 24 players, what their statistics look like at Bethpage? And could you share that information? Do you have something like that?
We do, but that is also a long time ago. 2019 is 6 years ago, and there's probably only Justin Rose, Rory, and a couple other guys that played in the '09 US Open,
Yeah.
and maybe Justin Rose played in the 2002 US Open. I mean, so you're going way back, right? So it's 23 years ago that they held their first US Open there, the People's US Open that David Fay brought there with the USGA. So getting statistical information from the people, the 24 guys that are in this field, isn't necessarily going to be as impactful as all the information that we have on these guys over, let's say, just the last 2 years since they went toe to toe in Rome in 2023. I mean, we know everything about these guys on a day-to-day basis and how they perform on the golf course present day, but going back as far as the PGA and then before that, Jeff, we just don't necessarily have the information, readily. We just weren't recording it to that level back then.
Hey, Keith, let me ask you a question here now. So when you're dealing with individual events on the PGA Tour and the LPGA, how much different is it with the formats of the Ryder Cup? I mean, I know you do unbelievable delving into all the statistics, but it's got to be a little bit trickier dealing with the match play part of it.
Well, sure. Frank, you bring up a very, big point here is that on a weekly basis, there is probably 65%, 2/3 of the wagering happens pre-tournament. So if we're getting ready for the BMW Championship, let's say, or the Sanderson Farms, which is the week after, almost all of the handle or the wagering or the gross dollars that are bet, 2/3 of them is bet pre-tournament, and then about 1/3 of it is bet live or during the tournament, let's say on head-to-head matchups, or maybe you feel like, oh, this person is going to win the tournament because they had a good Thursday and Friday, or I want this guy to finish top 5 and I'm going to bet him on a Sunday morning and he's got one round to go. The Ryder Cup is really a very poor pre-tournament bet other than picking a side, right? A lot of the prop bets, and this would be like my first PSA of this podcast, would be careful about some of these prop bets where they're like, oh, hey, who's going to win the most points? And everyone goes, well, it's got to be Scotty Scheffler. Well, like we just don't know if Keegan Bradley's going to play him 5 times. I mean, it would be a crime if he didn't play him 5 times, but stranger things have happened. Or, will John Rahm win the most points? Or, who's going to be the rookie that, wins the most points? Like those things that are subjective to what the captain's decisions are going to be, I would say pre-tournament, I would stay away from those. Pre-tournament, if you want to have some fun and you want to kind of wager on like who's going to win the first session or who's going to win the first day, but I wouldn't get much further than that other than picking the winner of who's going to win the Ryder Cup, because this thing will take on so many momentum waves over the course of the 3 days and the 90 holes that I always caution people. I said, you got to wait till the pairings come out, take it one session at a time, and then, try to collect your winning tickets as you go.
Great info.
Keith, one of the things I know Captain Bradley said, goes back to the history of Bethpage. When he picked Cam Young, he said, hey, I picked Cam Young number 1. He won a New York State Open. He's played Bethpage Black many, many times. So any thoughts on that, and also Cam Young having all of that local experience?
I think Cam Young is going to get thrown into the cauldron in this, and for all the reasons that you just listed. I mean, that 64 he shot in the final round as an amateur, first amateur ever to win the New York State Open, and he does it on the black course with a final round 64, and then he wins in a playoff. Cam had a rough start to the season, but a lot of people didn't know he wasn't very healthy in the off season, right? So once he got his health back about mid-season around the time of the PGA, I mean, he was just off and running. He was excellent at the US Open. And I think that the team is going to lean very heavily on Cam Young. You have to remember, all of this handicapping that I do and the success that I have had is because of the process that I use. A lot of people, they love to hide in their mom's basement with Excel spreadsheets and yell at each other on Twitter. That's not what I do. I actually go on site and I look at the golf course. I am a PGA professional by trade, right? So I have looked very, very closely at what's going on at Bethpage Black and the skill set that you're going to need, not just as a singles winner on Sunday, but what you would need to do in order to be a good alternate shot pairing or a good 4-ball pairing. And, Cam Young fits into both of those categories very, very well from the way that he has played this summer. And the biggest part of all of this is that you guys know this is a really big ballpark. You got to be able to hit the ball off the tee. And if there's a weakness on the American side that definitely the top, say, 5 or 6 guys on the European side can do a little bit better, that's drive the golf ball and drive it far. right? So I think that we're going to end up leaning on Cam Young for at least 4 matches because not only is his history there great, but of course, I mean, he drives the ball in a way that gives the U.S. an advantage.
Hey, Keith, so let me ask you, I mean, speaking of prop bets, I mean, here's probably a sucker bet. Would there be something about who will hit the first tee shot off for the Americans off the first tee? Will it be a Cam Young? Would that be a prop bet?
I mean, it would definitely be a prop bet. Who would be the first person to hit that tee shot? And you're right, Frank. That'd be a sucker bet. Unless I could go to you and say, hey, could you tell me that your player, Keegan Bradley, knows who's going to do that? Otherwise, I wouldn't touch that. It's way too subjective. And in fact, I mean, Cam Young likes to draw the ball. So the first hole for him, and we're playing foursomes, an alternate shot, I would not put him on the odd holes.
You know, Keith, I'm going to ask you because I want to put a few dollars onto this event, and one of the things that I was interested in is in that hole in one. So Rory's plus 7,500, Bryson's 8,000, Justin Rose is 12,000 plus 12,000, right? And 400 any player make a hole in one. What do you think of that bet? The 400 any player.
Any player make a hole in one for 4-1. I mean, those any bet that sounds like you're like measuring the length of the Star Spangled Banner at the opening of the Super Bowl. It is what it is.
I do that. What are you talking about?
Now, case in point. Thank you, Frank. But what it comes down to is that if you are going to do a prop bet, make it something that you want to root for. Make it something that doesn't have a negative connotation. If you're rooting for the fact that there's going to be a hole in one during these 3 days and these 90 holes, then I think that's a fun thing to do. I can tell you this much. The PGA of America or Kerry Haig or Keegan or the collaboration of all three of those entities have shortened the golf course since 2019's PGA. So I have the official scorecard for the matches for the Ryder Cup, and it's 107 yards shorter. So it's like all of a sudden, like, well, what's going on there? Why would we ever be making the golf course shorter? Well, that's a whole nother discussion that we can get into if you want. But for the purposes of your question is that two of the holes that are getting significantly shortened are number 3 and number 17. Well, those are par 3s, and they're shortening each of them by about 20 yards. So if you wanted to lean into that 4-1 for a hole in one from 24 of the best players in the world that are going to be taking dead aim because it's match play, I mean, I'm not going to begrudge you for wanting to root for that. And the setup of the golf course is slightly favoring that, but I mean, a professional is what, 8,000 to 1 in order to make a hole in one. So like, 4-1 on 8,000 to 1. I mean, I guess, I don't know, do the math.
Well, listen, I've set that golf course up 100 times for the State Open. I know those hole locations better than anybody. 14 left, bet the house. If they go up front, left, and forget about number 3. They need to have a prop bet just who's going to hit that green from where they're going to play it. And then number 17, front right again. If that pins up in that front right corner, there's a chance. But if it's in the back left corner, that place is a nightmare. And Keith, if I'm not mistaken, are they playing 7 as a par 4?
Yes, 7 will be a par 4. Yeah,
right.
about. So I think it's 524 on the card. But the
right.
way that those guys will play it, they'll hit a huge fade off the tee. They'll cut the corner over that tree, and they'll have 200 yards in.
Well, Bryson's going at the green. I can already tell you that now.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully Bryson is not teeing off on that hole in foursomes because he draws the ball. And if you guys really want to get into this, right? Like the drawer should be on the even holes and the fader should be on the odd holes. So for those of you that are listening or watching this that may not know what that means, if you're a right-handed player and you hit it left to right, hitting a fade or a slice, right? The left to right guys should be, there is one lefty in the field, Bobby MacIntyre, but like those guys should be on the odd holes. Number 1 is the perfect example of that. And then number 2, the converse of that, which moves right to left, which is a draw for a right-handed player, is where all your drawers should be. And you should align your foursomes teams accordingly. And I guarantee you, Captain Luke and Eduardo are going to put their teams together accordingly.
Yeah, I think I personally think that MacIntyre, and I know you said it on Read the Line, I think he's a wild card right here because he hits it both ways. So who knows where they're going to put him. I mean, he lives to hit a cut and then a draw and as the whole plate. I think the other guys are not as talented as he am with striking the golf ball. But he scares me more than anybody. Probably because he celebrates too hard. Maybe that's the reason.
Well, I mean, Bobby Mack has shown up in big events since he won 2
Yes.
PGA tournaments. And, you know, in 2023, he was probably the 12th man. Maybe Nikolai was the 12th man on the team. Bobby Mack was ranked about 50th in the world, hadn't won on the PGA Tour yet. Well, since that time, he's contended in majors. He's got top 10s in majors. He's got 2 PGA Tour wins. The guy's done a lot. And, I mean, if you go back to the BMW, I was down there outside of Baltimore, and the crowd was giving him a hard time, and he went in the press tent, went in the flash area, and he said, "Hey, bring it on." Well, I tell you what, I mean, heck, Bobby, with all due respect, you know, like, you're a great player and everything. You don't want to bring it on at Bethpage, but if you want to bring it on, they will bring it. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, Keith, you know, our sponsor is the Tunnel to Towers. You could go on their website, t2t.org, and make as little as $11 a month donation to assist our American heroes. We'd like to hear from our sponsor, the Tunnel to Towers.
Hi, I'm Gary Player. I'm a professional golfer. I've won 165 tournaments, and I'm one of 5 golfers to achieve a Grand Slam career victory. But what means more to me than all of this is my ability to give back and do good, particularly to the United States of America. That's why I'm committed to helping Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Good to see you, Frank. Good to see you, Gary. How you doing?
You're one of the most successful golfers that ever played the game. You're an incredible human being, but you joined the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. You see the work we're doing, and you wanted to help us raise money because how much you love America.
And I'll never forget one of the days I went for you in Miami. This lady was on duty with her husband and the police. She heard that her husband had just been killed. Now she's got 2 children. What's the first thought that comes to your mind? How am I going to support these children? How am I going to give them an education? How am I going to give them a normal life? What am I going to do with my mortgage? Tunnel to Towers is right there, across the board. I mean, what you do is fantastic.
Because you know the sacrifice that was made for our country to give us this beautiful country.
I doubt if there's anybody that loves the country more than I do. And I have said gratitude for what this country has not only done for me, but what it's done for the world.
And as a foundation, you know, we're there to help these families after they lose their loved one and they have young families left behind. And I know you're here to join us on that.
Tunnel to Towers is working every day to support America's greatest heroes. Please donate $11 a month at t2t.org. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Let us do good.
So with Keith Stewart, I mean, he's given us some good, valuable information here. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, again, from a gambling perspective, the difference between match play and stroke play, which one is there one that has an advantage from a betting perspective?
From a betting perspective, I would much rather stroke play because it's easier to gauge how well a player is going to, because that's what we see all the time. So all of the strokes gained numbers are based upon guys trying to keep the ball in play and shoot the lowest possible score over 72 holes. When it comes to something like the Ryder Cup or the President's Cup, they're trying to shoot the lowest hole on any given hole, right? There's a big difference in their mentality. And these guys are uber talented. And what happens is, and this is why you see so many guys hole out in the Ryder Cup, is that when you have a partner, then you have the ability to just fire at things with reckless abandon. And if you lose a hole, so what? I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's one of those things where you come right back, and on the next hole, you have a clean slate, and then you're not 3 strokes behind because you made a triple bogey. So it's definitely easier to look at the data, look at the golf course, look at, course fit and all of those things for these players, and then gauge a much longer stretch over 72 holes than it is to try to figure out match play. Now, that being said, it's really fun to bet on the Ryder Cup, especially when it comes to Sunday. I mean, it won't rival the numbers for the NFL, but I tell you what, it's the only golf event where you're going to get to bet 12 head-to-heads for the best players in the world, and they will track a ton of golf handle. The books will, the FanDuels and the DraftKings and the Fanatics and all of them, they will track a ton of handle come this Sunday, even against the NFL.
Hey, Scott, Keith, let me just ask you a question about and I've said this a couple of times, and everybody gives me a lot of heat for it. I kind of like what happens with the President's Cup, where if it's you against I as the captains, you go first, I can pick back and forth. Ryder Cup is just a list. What would you rather see? What would help the betting end of it? Would the President's Cup, the way that they do it, be better than the Ryder Cup?
Well, if you throw out the side that we generally kill them in the President's Cup, the international team, which makes the betting a little bit easier because the U.S. has had such an advantage over them. From purely a betting perspective, I mean, I almost prefer the randomness of the Ryder Cup, because then if all of a sudden on Sunday we get Bryson Rory in the third match off, then, and it happened randomly, it has all the more impact that like almost the golf gods align that to happen. A lot's been said over the years that the President's Cup, like they put these matches together and, pick the best, like head to head, like, oh, well, there's going to be a four ball that goes out with, I don't know, Victor Hovland and Rasmus Højgaard, right? And like, oh, well, we want to counter that with, because Rasmus went out, we want to counter that with bet. No, like if they end up against like Scotty and Bryson, feed them to the wolves as far as I'm concerned. And then guess what? Should they win, then golly, imagine what happens then. I don't have a problem with that in the Ryder Cup. It's definitely easier when they try to set them up and they put the better teams against the better teams, or maybe they one of the captains sees a weaker team that he puts his better team against it because he can react to that. Maybe that makes it. I mean, guys, we're betting and we're betting on golf and we're betting between 24 players that their skill set, you could like split hairs other than Scotty, right?
Well,
so like,
yeah.
and they have partners for 2 of the days. So like, I mean, it's a tough job that I have, right? But at the end of the day, if predicting and putting them out like the President's Cup, it maybe makes it slightly easier.
Yeah, I think it's a little tricky there too with the, you just, you can almost tell where they're going to put guys based on what the score is after Saturday anyway. I mean, they're going to be in certain pockets right there. So like you said, in a way, I do like the randomness of it. And like you said, when that happens, wow, watch out.
So I'm going to go back to another recommendation I need from you. Scotty wins, the USA wins, and he's the top point scorer, plus 300. What do you think of that bet?
Frank, you're a coach. Would you play Scotty 5 times?
I
On the
probably
black?
wouldn't. I probably wouldn't. It's too taxing. I would play him, probably sit him somewhere based on how is it going and how's he playing.
Well,
4 times.
Okay, so Frank, we're gonna have a discussion here. Okay. He's the best golfer in the world ×2. He's won 6 times this year, 15 times in 2 years. He's won 2 majors this year. And you're gonna sit him for what reason? Fatigue? Someone carries his bag, and it's his job to play golf for a living.
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm with you. I've been saying 5 all week long and been getting hammered. So I just didn't want of course, I go to 4, and now I get hammered by you. That's
Frank,
about right.
No, Frank, ready? Okay, from now on, if you're going to get hammered, why don't you tell him this? Since 1981, the team that has played more 5-time players, okay, is 14-7. Since 2000, that team is 8-2. The only team on the American side that's ever used guys 5 times more than the European side was in 2008. Anybody know what happened in 2008 at Valhalla with Paul Azinger?
Yeah, I know what happened.
Yeah, we won. Okay.
Yeah.
And we used more guys 5 times, right? You have got to run your horses. So if you want to take our best horse and you want to say that the U.S. is going to win and they're favored, then for you, Jeff, to answer your question, I would be much more apt to bet on that. Again, I've already said, like, betting on most points can get weird, but like I'm more apt to bet on that than I am to bet on will there or be a hole in one or not.
Hey, Keith, don't you get the feeling that Jeff's heading to the bank sometime tomorrow? See, he's got everything going right here.
Well, hey, if he's listening to me, he'll be heading to the bank on Sunday night is what he's going to be doing. He's going to be making a deposit. That's what's going to happen. I mean, you mean to tell me that Rory's not going to play 5? Would you roll out Rahm 5 times? How about Tommy? right? Tommy's probably arguably the third best player in the world right now, and he's got a fantastic Ryder Cup record. He's never even been beat in alternate shot. And you're not going to play Tommy 5 times? He just won the Tour Championship. He's the only guy on your side that just beat Scotty.
Yeah, I got a feeling that Bryson wants to play 6 times. He's looking for that extra time. Bryson will just play.
I mean, if we have to listen to the fact that, like, Bryson can't play alternate shot, right? I mean, like, why? Because his house isn't in front of him or something like that? I mean, this is the problem with the Ryder Cup. It should start today and not start on Friday because there's just too many things to talk about. Bryson is the perfect lightning rod, okay? He should play Friday morning in foursomes. He should be out there on the even holes. Pardon me. He should be on the even holes with a partner who fades the ball, who will play the odd holes, and they will go toe to. I mean, Frank, if you and I were playing from Bryson's drive on the back tees at the Black course, we would still be hitting wedges in. I mean, it's ridiculous the advantage you're going to get, and they're going to say like, oh, he's not going to mix the golf. Who cares about the golf ball? Right? Honestly, all these pundits are going to be like pushing this narrative. Oh, we need the right golf ball. We need this. We need that. Right? People are going to be able to throw it in with their arm from where they're hitting Bryson's drive. I could use Bryson's golf ball from there. Right? So like, I'm big on the 5 times thing. I'm big on using Bryson. I'm big on the theater that Bryson is going to produce. I am big on getting the crowd to go against Rory. I mean, those are the things that have got to happen this week if you want the U.S. to win. Right? You cannot let Rory McIlroy get any momentum in doing anything this week because he's the lightning rod that said, we are going to win at Bethpage after he smoked you at Rome, right? You have got to put that guy down right away. And then you've got to get Scotty and Bryson to put this team on their back and just roll.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So let me just ask you one more quick thing about, you slightly mentioned it. Would you rather see this event be 4 days like the President's Cup? Would that be more betting, or 3 days like it is right now?
It would only be more betting if there's more matches, right? Like if they keep the same format, but they just split, 4 matches on Thursday and then 4 on Friday and then 8, the 4 and the 4 on Saturday and then the 12 on Sunday. I mean, maybe an extra day gives you a little bit more handle, but to be honest, I mean, they should keep the format the way it is. I mean, it's worked for 44 editions. I mean, how much media is created around this event and for how long? You guys have a podcast that only exists because of this event. It doesn't need to be changed. What needs to happen is that both of these teams need to show up and they need to have it come down to the last 4 or 5 matches on Sunday. And that would be the most electric theater you could imagine in the game of golf. And it'd be, to be quite honest, it'd be the perfect cap to this year between Rory and his career Grand Slam, Scotty with 2 majors, and everything else that's taken place.
Keith, our sponsor again is the Tunnel to Towers. We're going to send you a nice pair of leather wrapped whiskey glasses to your house. We'll get your address. We'll send it there. I think you're from Jersey, right? New Jersey guy.
Yep.
Our people can listen. Our audience can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Please like, share, comment, collaborate. We'd appreciate that. But you know what, Keith, I'm looking here at the weather. It's another gambling question, a personal question. I got $50 in my pocket to spend, and I'm seeing that there's going to be a potential 50% rain on Friday. Give me with the weather of the short course that you said, and I got $50. Give me your best bet on Friday.
I think the U.S. comes out strong. As many of the teams have done in that format in foursomes early on Friday, and I would put the $50 on the U.S. to win that morning session points.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that one. Keith, I had Sepp Straka's caddy on this morning, Dwayne Bach, which is going to be very interesting since he's from East Hampton and he's on the other team. We had a blast with him as well. And I asked him the question about the golf ball scenario. And they were making a big deal about it, and you mentioned it before. The secret is to make certain that the guy that's familiar with the golf ball is hitting the second shot in. But Keith, these golf balls are pretty similar, right? I mean, maybe in the past it might have been different. These balls are all pretty close. What do you think?
Again, they could switch the ball on the tee. the guy that's hitting the drive is going to have less effect on him. Even with all of Bryson's testing and everything, he could find planet Earth at the black course and get it on the ground. And then if you want to switch it for the guy that's hitting the approach shot in or is hitting it off the tee on the par 3, by all means, I think that's great. You know, people say like, oh, it doesn't chip well. Hey, buddy, I got news for you. If you're chipping, you're losing the hole. These guys are the 24 best players in the world. They're putting for birdie on pretty much every hole, right? I'm not putting a lot of short game acumen into my modeling and how I'm trying to figure out that if the U.S. will win or the European team will win or who will win the different matches once the pairings come out, right? If you're in the bunkers or if you're chipping or, you know, you're missing greens or whatever, that's no good, right? We are looking at your stereotypical golf round from an elite professional like a Scotty. They're hitting the fairway, they're hitting the greens, who's hitting it closer, and then who's converting more putts. And that's really the way you want to look at it. I mean, I get it. It's important for them to be confident with their golf ball, but I think that setting the teams up to match up with one another, like people think it's easy to set up 4-ball teams. They just go like, hey, let's just roll out 2 like super birdie makers like Scotty and Sam Burns. But like, how about the fact that like, you know, if Scotty had a weakness, right, he should be a better scorer on par 3s. He makes a lot of pars on par 3s, doesn't make a lot of birdies. Well, why not pair him up with one of the better par 3 players in 4-ball? Like, that's the level with which Europe has been thinking about this for decades. And everyone always talks about their team camaraderie and secret sauce. The camaraderie is that they put the best players together that complement one another. And, you know, we use the Zach Johnson approach, which is like, you know, if it feels good in my gut, then I'm going to roll with it, which is like, that does not work. And if I could preach one thing, it would be, let's take the time to have Captain Keegan listen to his sources. They have hired a statistical analysis group. They know exactly everything that I would know or anyone would know if they want to look it up about these players and how they perform. And they know what the golf course looks like because they're the ones that set it up. And the fact is that if we do pay attention and we do all of those things, I think the U.S. wins because of the home field advantage.
I'm with you.
You know, Keith, you know, for our audience, you know, please, if you're going to gamble, please do it sensibly. You know, just a thought there from a gambling addiction. I guess, you know, we're having fun with this show and we're kind of laughing here, but just some thoughts about addictions and gambling and some recommendations you might tell our audience.
Well, again, now that it's legal in about half the states in the United States and you can do it on your phone and everything, just make sure it's entertainment. It should 100% be entertainment for you. If it gets to be more than entertainment, right? No one's making their living doing this. Okay. I write for a living. I create media for a living. Picking winners is not how I have a living. Okay. So like, let me be very clear about that. I create media and I try to break this down to the best of my ability. Everybody loves to say that I picked 42 winners in the last 3.5 years, but how about the 100+ people that lost, right? Like I'm wrong more than I'm right. And the fact of the matter is that if you're doing this in such a way that it entertains you and it engages you into the event more so, then by all means, put $10 on a side, either Europe or USA, and then just lock in because you are going to get some amazing theater for 90 straight holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Keith, looking forward to seeing you out at Bethpage. I'll be around there a little bit. And like I said, I'm counting on I'm definitely betting on how long the national anthem's going to take at the opening awards dinner.
I mean, are you singing it?
No, I'm not. You be betting on how many words I didn't say.
Yeah. Well, Keith, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we'll see you out at Bethpage at the end of the week.
I'm on a little trip right now. Going to spend some time with the Golf Channel on Monday, and then head right up to Bethpage Monday night. And I'll be there Tuesday through Sunday, and go USA.
I'll see you Tuesday. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.